How we doing, y'all? Coach Chad here, CEO of the Next Level Coaching Academy, giving you guys a little cheers. I had one glass of wine this evening as I was wrapping up work, but I got a special episode for you guys. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you're going to be able to actually see the screen, because what I'm going to be doing in this episode is I'm actually going to be going through a training. All right, I'm going to be sharing my screen. I'm going to be walking you guys through a process that we coined the NLCA conversation to call strategy. All right, and I feel like with DMing and outbound messaging, it is really becoming very spammy, and some of the old approaches aren't necessarily working anymore. So I've already talked about this before, but NLCA is transitioning. We're making NLCA 2.0, and one of the new strategies that we're putting out is our conversations to call strategy. This is one of many different strategies that we're going to be putting out in NLCA 2.0, and I want to bring that to you guys. So if you're watching on YouTube, like I said, you'll be able to actually visually see the screen, and I'll go over the scripting and the whole nine yards. If you're listening on the podcast, if you check the show notes, I will actually drop the scripts so you can listen and you can also see the resource as well. But there will be no conclusion to this podcast. So I'm just going to thank you guys for listening right now. If you did enjoy this, please share this with a friend, leave a review, do the little star thing. I really don't know what people say with podcasts, but just freaking do something to boost it, right? Subscribe or leave a review or whatever it's may call. So I can't even speak at this point. Probably, I've only had half a glass of wine. Maybe it's too much. Who knows? All right. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's break it all down. So this is going to be the NLCA Messenger scripts section of the NLCA conversation to call strategies. So in this section, we're going to break down a couple of different scripting options. It's important to keep in mind that scripts are not the end all be all. In fact, following a script word for word makes you come across robotic and inauthentic. Another competitive advantage that you will have in your outbound strategy is to add your own human element to the scripting framework. The more you come across as a real human, the better the strategy works. All right, let's break that down. So obviously I read it, but I always like adding my own little 2 cents to drive points home. So a lot of people do outbound messaging, right? That's not a new strategy. This isn't a new strategy. This is a new way to do it. Okay, this is a much more humanized way to do it. And in NLCA, we used to be very scripted. We used to be very robotic. And what we noticed is our call bookings started to go down. We completely changed our approach. We started to become much more humanized. And what we did is we provided frameworks instead of scripting. So what we said is, in this section, this is the goal of the section. How you get to the goal is really up to you. So in so many words, here's what we want the answer on in this section from the prospect. The way you ask the question and the way you word it is totally up to you. And when we chose to switch to more of a framework approach opposed to a word for word script is when we started to see a lot more success. Now, I understand that you guys are brand new and you probably want to see examples of what the scripting looks like, and that's fine. And that's what it's going to show in these scripts that I'm going to show you. However, I want you to add your own human element. And if that means you need to follow the script for the first 30 days, that's totally fine. But once you understand the script, once you understand the framework, we have to pivot, we have to switch, we have to add our own human element to the process. Okay, 2 scripts we're going to break down here. All right, we're going to break down the friends and family script, and then we're going to break down the NLCA conversations to call script. All right, so the friends and family script, the reason we threw this one in here is we understand in the beginning, your first handful of clients are probably going to be friends, friends of friends, family, the whole nine yards, right? And we do understand that that could be a little uncomfortable approaching your friends and family and trying to get them booked for a sales call. So what we feel is that this is a very low risk way of engaging your friends and family. All right, so let me go ahead and read what we got here. So the script is a very low risk way of engaging with friends and family to gauge their interest in your program. Other strategies to engage your friends and family is the free challenge strategy taught in the earned media module, or if they engage with the intro post, right, in the get your first client in 21 days or less module, that's another way as well. So obviously you have this script, the script that we're teaching you, but other ways to engage your friends and family and see if they're interested in your program would be to invite them to your free challenge that we taught in the earned media module, or after you've done your intro post, which at this point hopefully you've already done, from the get your first client in 21 days or less module, then that would be another way to gauge their interest. All right, with that said though, let's go ahead and break down the good old scripting. All right, let me blow this up so that you guys don't have to squint. Okay, so the first thing here is if they fill out an application or inquire after seeing a post, use the intake form script, actually found in the conversation to calls. All right, so in the next script I go over, if you have a friend or a family that ever fills out an intake form, an application, or they reach out to you after they see a post and they say that they're interested, there'll be a script that I go over in the conversation to call script, and that will be the one that you follow. Okay. If they engage with the post but don't inquire directly, right? So if you notice friends and family are engaging with your post, they don't inquire directly, or if you just want to reach out to your friends and family, this would be the process that you take. All right, so you would say, yo, what's up? Or you'd say hello, or however you normally initiate the conversation with them is how you would start. So you'd say, yo, what's up, or hello, or whatever it may be. And then you'll say, how has life been? Right? Just normal, normal. You're just reaching out to your friend and family how you always do, right? I'd BS back and forth for 2 to 3 messages, especially if you haven't talked to them in a while, right? So, you could bullshit back and forth for a little bit, make it very casual. All right. Post the BS, you're going to say this. All right. So after the third message, here's your transition. You're going to say, I've really appreciated all your support on my business content lately. Not sure if I ever told you what I'm doing, but I run an online fitness coaching company that helps blank achieve blank. So basically I help, person achieve thing, challenge, whatever it may be. Do you happen to know anybody that could benefit from this? All right. Hugely powerful, because the reason this is so powerful is you're not directly saying, do you want to join my program? What you're saying is, hey, I'm not sure if you saw, like I said, thank you so much for the support recently. I just started this company. We do this thing, right? Insert your offer solution statement. And then you say, do you happen to know anybody that could benefit from this? So you're actually asking for a referral. You're not necessarily saying, do you want to join my program? Couple things will happen here. They will either say, yes, me, LOL, or they'll refer you somebody, or they won't. All right. So a couple of different scenarios here. All right. So like I said, they're either going to say, yes, me, lol, or they're going to refer you somebody, or they're going to say, I'll keep my eyes open. All right. So if they say, yes, me, what you're going to say is you're going to say, oh, wasn't expecting you to say that. Haha. What are your fitness and health goals right now? All right. They're going to say, whatever their fitness and health goals are. All right. You'll acknowledge what they say. So if they say they want to lose 30 pounds, you'll say, that's amazing. So awesome. You have such a specific goal. What's been your biggest challenge to reaching X goal? Right. So you figured out the goal. Now you're figuring out the challenge. Okay. They'll say whatever. Then from there, you'll acknowledge their challenge, right? So let's say their challenge was dieting, right? So you can say, hey, totally get it. So many of my clients struggle with the same thing. And then from there, you could pitch and book a one call close. All right. So you'll pitch and book a one call close, and we'll teach you how to pitch. We'll teach you how to book a one call close in the conversations to call strategy. I'll teach you that here in a minute. All right. So if they say that they will refer you somebody or keep their eyes peeled, you'll say this. I really appreciate that. We actually have a referral program where you can win, prize. It could be a cash amount or whatever it is. We're going to create a referral program later on in the course, so you'll have an understanding there. And then you'll say, here are the steps to refer us somebody and how to get the referral bonus. And then you'll lay out the steps. Like I said, that will be covered in the referral module. All right. So recapping that. So you'll BS back and forth for 2 to 3 messages. You'll say this here, basically, I don't know if you've seen, thank you for the support, but I'm doing this thing. We help this person achieve this thing. Do you know anybody? When you say that, they'll either say, yes, me, or they'll refer you somebody, or they'll say they'll keep their eyes peeled. If they say, yes, me, you'll ask them what their goals are, what their challenges are, and then we'll pitch them for a call. If they say they're going to refer you somebody or keep their eyes peeled, you'll just give them the steps on how to refer you somebody. Okay, so here's the approach you want to take if you want to randomly reach out to your family and friends and see if they're interested. Okay, so remember, this is if they're engaging on your posts. All right, so if you see them engaging on your post, this is if you just want to reach out to them at random. All right, so you'll say, yo, what's up? Hello. once again, however you normally initiate conversation with them, you'll ask them how life is. You'll bullshit back and forth for 2 to 3 messages. Like I said, especially if you haven't talked to them in a while. All right, this is what you'll say post BS. So you'll say, not sure if I ever told you what I'm doing, but I run an online fitness coaching company that helps, blank type of person achieve blank type of result. Do you happen to know anybody that could benefit from this? Same question, right? So from here, they'll either say, yes, me, or they will refer you to somebody, or they will keep their eyes open. All right, at that stage, actually, this just looks like it's the exact same thing. My bad. I apologize. But yeah, basically, you're going to take them through the exact same approach. So if they say yes, me, you're going to say, you weren't expecting them to say that. You'll ask them the goals, you'll ask them the challenges, and then you'll pitch them for a call. And then if they say that they'll refer you to somebody or they'll keep their eyes peeled, you'll just lay out the steps for how to refer somebody, how they can win the bonus, what the referral bonus is. And like I said, that will be covered in a later module. All right. So once again, recapping this script, this is how to message family and friends. Whether if they are engaging with your posts, the likelihood that they respond, the likelihood that you get something positive from it is probably a bit higher. However, they may not engage with your posts, and you may need to randomly reach out to them, and that's totally fine. And I highly encourage that you do it, because they are family and friends, right? They should want to help you. And because this is such a low risk way of doing that, I really don't see any negative to not executing this strategy. All right, now we're going to move on to script number 2. So script number 2 is the NLCA conversation to calls strategy. Let's break down this bad boy. Okay, so this is the NLCA conversation to call strategy. We call this the ultimate guide for creating leads through direct outreach. All right, so there's a couple of principles that we're going to go over. We'll go over the RAQ formula. We'll go over how to ask questions, and then we'll go over the actual scripting itself. All right, so here are Messenger guidelines for success. So assume that you're going to book half a call every hour that you work outreach. Let me go ahead and blow this up a little bit. All right, so let's assume that you'll book half a call every hour you work outreach, which means if you work 2 hours, you book 1 call. With that in mind, you can figure out how many hours you'll need to do outbound a day to hit your call booking target. This eliminates any guesswork. All right, all the time we have people say, how many hours should I put in? How many hours should I be doing outbounds? Well, instead of guessing, instead of me giving you some theory saying like, oh, well, I've seen this is the best. No, let's do the math here. All right, so the actual equation is you'll take your goal call bookings for the month, which we've already came up with in the target setting module. So how many calls you want to book in the month, and you'll divide that by your call booking per hour. Right now, because we don't have any data to figure out what your call booking per hour is, we're just going to assume it's 0.5, which is half a call every hour worked. All right, that can change, and that's a variable that you can update every month if you want, right? That variable changes a lot, so you can update that every month to give yourself a refresh on how many hours you need to work. Right, so I'll give you a short example. Let's say you want to book 10 calls a month. Right? Let's say that this is your call booking per hour 0.5. That means that you need to work 20 hours a month to hit your monthly target, right? From there, you could break that down by taking the hours needed, divided by the total number of working days in the month. And then that will give you the number of, not horses, but hours needed to work per workday, right? So if you are going to work 20 days and you need to work 20 hours, that means that you need to do this for at least 1 hour per workday. Okay, like I said, as you learn how to track your call booking per hour, and we'll talk about that in a later module, you can always rework this equation because that is the moving variable, right? The call booking per hour is the X in this variable. All right, so that's a very just matter of fact, this is how many hours you need to work to achieve X result. Hold on one sec. Okay, the next guideline for success here is focus less on time and more on targets, which I know is kind of contradictory to what we just said, right? Obviously, there's a dichotomy there. You want to focus on time and targets, but I would say you want to focus more on targets than time. All right, so I'll break that. Let me read this and then I'll break that down. So set a target for call bookings every day. You determine what you need to book per day simply by taking your monthly call booking target and dividing it by how many days you plan to work in the month. Once you hit your target for the day, you are done with this activity. All right. So if you want to book let's say 20 calls in a month and you have 20 working days, that means that your target is to book one call per day. And I know in this previous equation, we kind of did the same thing, right? And we figured out that you need to work 1 hour per day. Well, if you work your 1 hour and you don't hit your target, you aren't done, right? If you view this in a hourly capacity, you're going to have a very hard time having success. The difference between entrepreneurs and employees is employees think in terms of hours. They think, how many hours do I need to work? Entrepreneurs, business owners think in terms of targets. What do I have to do to hit my target, right? Like, they don't care how many hours it takes. They're hitting their target. The target is the end all be all. So in this circumstance here, if you work your in theory 1 hour and you don't hit your target, keep going, because the target trumps the hour. You're not getting paid per hour as an entrepreneur. You're getting paid to produce. Okay, so you have to hit your target. All right, so targets trump time every single time. Okay. The next guideline for success here is chunk your messenger timeout in quotes sessions. Try to make sure you are covering all times of the day: morning, midday, afternoon, evening, night. This will allow you to maximize everyone's most active time. If you handicap yourself to only messaging at certain times, you will notice little performance. I think it's best to do a morning session, a midday session, and an evening session. It is also important. Sorry, somebody was trying to join my waiting room. It is also important to check responses in between sessions to keep conversations flowing. The reason this is true is because the people we are messaging are not professional social media people. We need to capture their attention by responding quickly. Responding quickly hooks them into the conversation, which increases your odds of getting them booked. Speed is another principle of success. All right, I know I just read a lot, so let's go ahead and break this down. So what we've seen is with individuals who have the most success here, sure, they have a certain time or amount of time that they're going to work, and yes, they have a target. But what we've seen has led people to reaching their targets is chunking out their time that they're spending in Messenger. If you just spend all your time in Messenger in the morning, then you're only allowing yourself to have conversations with people who are active in the morning. All right, and as I said, we are not working with professional social media people here, meaning they are not on their inbox all day long. They are on their inbox at different points in the day. And it's our job to make sure that we are on when they are on, which means that we have to sacrifice a little bit and be a little, we have to be on our game, right? We're professional social media people, so we have to be on our game and look and see. And the best way to capture somebody's attention is to respond quickly. All right, because they aren't professional social media people, and because they only check their social media inboxes at quick glance, if you give them a quick response, that will hook them in, right? Capture their attention, and they will facilitate the rest of the conversation with you. So, couple things to take out of this one: chunk out your sections, right? Have a morning session, have a midday session, have an evening session. Quite honestly, I would be checking my inbox in between my sessions as well. I did that all the freaking time. I can tell you one story. When I was growing my online fitness coaching business, being a waiter was my part-time job. And I would remember in between tables, I would be checking my inbox to just send one more message, right? Because if you can move people through the script at an appropriate speed, you're going to book a lot more calls. So every little second I got, I would go back into my inbox and I would send the next message. And in between my actual sit down sessions, I made that a priority, and I think that led to a lot of my success. Okay, let's keep it rocking. Yeah. So the next principle here is speed. Speed is the big thing, right? Speed is. Hold on one second, guys. I gotta pause this. I apologize about that. I had people in my waiting room, and they thought that usually I host a sales meeting at this time, but obviously somebody else is taking the sales meeting, so I could record this video. Anyways, I digress. Big things here: chunk out your sessions. That's going to give you the most amount of opportunity to make sure that we have conversations with individuals at the times that they are active. In between your sessions, I'd periodically check your inbox as well to push conversations through. And then lastly, always operate with speed, because we're not dealing with professional social media people here. So we have to move quicker to capture their attention. All right, the next thing, Messenger is a pure output game. All right, the more you put in terms of time, energy, effort, volume of messages, the more you get out. If you are not having success with this strategy, 9 times out of 10, it's because your output isn't high enough. And we'll talk about what that looks like in this module. But that's the biggest thing. If you're not having success, it's probably because you're not putting in enough time, energy, effort, or volume of messages. All right, 2 more, and then we'll start getting into the scripting stuff here. So the most successful people at this strategy know how to balance the framework of the script while also adding the human element. They know how to not veer off in unnecessary conversation by also providing a conversation feel. They know how to stick to the straight line without sounding salesy. Additionally, they do this by adding voice memo, video recordings to the process and not using just text. All right, let's break this one down. So the most successful people in Messenger know how to balance sticking to the script, but also adding a human element. Meaning, if there are 8 questions that you are going to ask in the script, they do not veer off in la la land and ask 20 questions, and they're supposed to ask 8 and they ask 12 additional unnecessary questions because they just want to have a buddy feel good conversation. That is the fastest track to losing somebody's attention. If they feel like the conversation doesn't have purpose and you're just talking about last Sunday's brunch, they are going to stop responding. All right, so the best way to add the human element but still stick to the straight line is if there are 8 questions you have to ask, because there's 8 questions in the script, you will only ask those 8 questions and you will only send 8 messages. But within each of those 8 messages, that is where you express your humanality. That is where you add the human element. And the best way that we have seen people add human element is with emojis, exclamation points, adding emotion, using voice memo instead of text, or video, right? So we're literally saying exactly what you're going to say in a video or in a voice memo, or making the messages seem very lively. That's the best way to do it. All right, the last thing here is, make it fun, play music, have videos going on in the background. So if you're somebody who doesn't like monotonous work, this does tend to get a little bit monotonous. So the best way to shake it up is have music in the background, have your TV going. You can go to a coffee shop if that's your vibe. If you feed off of energy, right? If you're somebody who actually enjoys just being relaxed and quiet and in the zone and not having anything else on, that's more my speed, then yeah, that's fine too. Then you're probably going to crush this activity. All right, let's carry on. So now we have the RAQ formula. All right, so what we just went over is all the principles to success. Now we're going to start getting into the actual scripting portion here. All right, so the RAQ formula is how you're going to structure each message, each individual message that you send. All right, so what RAQ stands for is repeat, acknowledge, question. All right, so let me go ahead and give you a little bit of an example here. So let's say that the person says their goal is to lose 30 pounds. The way that you want to respond is you want to repeat what they said back to you. That makes them feel like you're listening. You want to acknowledge what they say. That makes them feel heard. And then lastly, you want to ask the next question in the sequence. All right. So if somebody says my goal is to lose 30 pounds, responding in the RAQ formula, I'm going to say that's so awesome that you want to lose 30 pounds. I'm repeating back. I love how clear your goal is. That's so good, right? I'm acknowledging, right? I'm making them feel good. And then I'm asking the next question. Out of curiosity, what is your biggest challenge to losing 30 pounds, right? So that's how you respond. And that's the best framework in sales. You always want to repeat back what people say. You always want to acknowledge what they say. This makes them feel heard, listened to, makes them feel acknowledged, right? And then you want to always ask the next question. The goal is not to be the one who's talking the most. The person who's talking the least and asking the questions is the one who's in control of the situation. However, you don't only want to just ask questions, because if you only just ask questions, then you come across as salesy. But if you repeat and acknowledge before you ask the next question, then you come across as somebody who's actually paying attention. Okay, so the next thing is, how do you actually ask questions? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this. So when questions come off abruptly, they could put up red flags or put off potential clients. You always want to lead with grace when you're asking your questions, right? And I'll give you an example. If I just said, hey, what are your goals? What are your fitness goals? What's your biggest challenge? Hey, what do you feel like you need? right? It's very abrupt. It almost sounds like, geez, okay, God, that was very forward. That was so random. Why did that person ask me that? Right. But if there's subtle ways that you can make your questions come off less abrupt. All right. So here's how you do it. So you can say, out of curiosity, you can say, hey, out of curiosity, what are your goals? Or hey, out of curiosity, what's your biggest challenge to reaching your goal? Right? You're adding that flavor of curiosity. Hey, I'm just curious. Right? That's another way to say it. Hey, I'm just curious. Instead of saying out of curiosity, you can say, hey, I'm just curious. Right? So just adding in that little touch beforehand makes it seem less abrupt. Another way you could do it is, if you don't mind me asking, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what are your fitness goals? Right? That's another way to approach it. Or you could say, so you could say, so what is your biggest challenge? Right? These are just more subtle ways to ask questions that don't come off abrupt, because it's very easy um, when texting to get misconstrued with certain things like that. Okay. Now let's get into the messenger formula, and then we're going to get into the actual script. We'll get into booking a call, and there's a couple other little scripts that we're going to get into as well. All right, so the messenger formula. The messenger formula is like a funnel. Questions are going to start off very general and gradually get more specific, leading them to your outcome, which is getting them on a call. All right, so we're going to start off with some personal questions. All right. And then from there, we're gonna have a transitional question, and then we'll have about 3 to 4 fitness questions, and then we'll have a pitch. All right. So let's get into what this looks like. All right. So we're gonna have the opener. All right. So the opener is the very first message that you send. So here's the opener for if somebody engages with your post. Here's the opener if somebody watches your story, and then here's the opener for somebody who's absolutely just a cold lead. You're just shooting them a message under no context. All right. So for people who engage with your post, you can say, hey name, right? You can insert their name. What's up? Thank you so much for liking or commenting or whatever action they took on my post today. I appreciate you. Any fun plans coming up this weekend, or did you do anything fun last weekend? Right? So very general, very broad. This will increase the likelihood that they respond if it is general and broad. All right. And then it's basically the same thing for if somebody watches your stories, except the only thing you're changing here is the action, right? So instead of liking or commenting, thank you for checking out my story or whatever. All right. If it's an absolute cold lead, you'll say, hey, name, what's up? Happy to connect with you. I noticed you are XYZ profession, went on vacation at blank, live in blank area. How long have you done that for? All right. So here's the context behind this. So if it's somebody who's an absolute cold lead, they didn't like anything, they didn't comment anything, they didn't even friend request you or follow you or whatever it may be. All right. So what we need to do is we need to go to this individual's page and we need to find a connection point. All right. Connection points could be a certain profession. If they took a picture that they went to Cancun or something, or if they live in Austin, Texas, right? So you have to find any sort of connection point. And the connection point doesn't always have to be relevant to your life. If it is relevant to your life, great, because then it's a real, true, authentic connection. But if you see that they're a real estate agent or whatever profession, you can use that as the connection point, even if it doesn't have too much relevancy to your life. So, and the reason you could do that is because people love to talk about themselves. So if you notice that they're posting a lot about how they're a real estate agent, it means it matters to them. So if you ask them how long they've been doing it for, the likelihood of them responding is going to be much higher, right? So 2 things. One, ask either a genuine connection point, something that actually has relevancy to your life. Or 2, if you notice that they post a lot about 1 or 2 different things, you could use that as the connection point, because people love to talk about what they love to talk about. All right. All right, let's read this. So the goal with the cold opener is to find something on their. All right, I actually already went over this, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that one. All right, so that's the opener. All right, so all openers then lead into the following framework. All right, and like I said, pro tip, I'm gonna repeat this again. If I repeat this, it means that I really think it's a good idea. Use voice memo, use video. I think that's the next biggest thing in outbound, is you're gonna notice that less and less people are gonna text and more people are gonna use video and voice memo. So if you can get, and this is a prediction, this is not something that's currently happening, this is a prediction. So if you can get ahead of the curve and you could do that, I really think that's going to go a long way for you. All right, so we call this the no fluff message, right? So we just had the opener. Now we're going to go right into the no fluff message. So the no fluff message, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to acknowledge whatever they say in response to the opening question. All right, so I'm not going to script this out because they could respond, 500 bajillion different ways. All you need to know is that in the very first sentence of your response is acknowledge what they say in some way, shape, or form. All right, then from there, you're going to say, I always love connecting with others over health and fitness. As I'm sure you saw my profile, LOL. Are you on a health and fitness journey of your own? All right, so we call this the no fluff message for a reason. Because what we did here is we connected on something, right? And then we're basically going right into it. So the reason we're going to go right into it is because one thing that I personally hate when I'm getting DM prospect is when people really just start dragging it out. When they drag it out, I'm like, all right, get to the point. Obviously, there's a reason you reached out to me. And this is a very subtle way of saying that reason without saying that reason. All right, so we're going to acknowledge whatever they say. And we're going to say, always love connecting with others over health and fitness. As I'm sure you saw my profile, LOL, right? Adding a little joke, adding some humor to it. And then we're saying, are you on a health and fitness journey of your own? Question mark. All right. Couple ways they'll respond here. They'll either respond saying yes, and they'll say, kinda, I need to, or they'll say no. All right. And then we're going to go into the inspiration question. So if they say no, right, I would follow up and I would say something to the effect of like, oh, hey, no worries at all. Out of curiosity, is it something that you're looking to get into? All right. So let me go ahead and actually pause and I'll write. All right, so I just added this little note here, right? So if they do say no, you'll just say, "Oh, no worries. Is that something you are looking to get into, or is that an area of life that you're already crushing?" That will do a couple different things. If basically it's giving them two options. They can either say no, it's something I'm looking to get into, or they'll say it's an area of life that they're crushing. And if they're not actually crushing it, they're not actually going to say that, right? So it kind of really gives them just that one option of saying like, I just don't have the time. Right. Or whatever their excuse may be. And then you can put your coach hat on, and then obviously you can continue on with the scripting here. All right. So the next question here is the inspiration question. All right. So you're going to acknowledge whatever they said previously. And then you're going to say, out of curiosity, what inspired you to start your health and fitness journey? Right. So we figured out that they're on a journey, or we figured out that they're not on a journey, but they want to get on a journey. Right now, we're going to say, out of curiosity, what inspired you to start your health and fitness journey? Or if they haven't, we can reframe that and say something to the effect of like, what's inspiring you to want to start your health and fitness journey? All right, so just excuse me, a slight subtle tweak in the scripting. And like I said, our goal here at NLCA, we don't want to have the exact writing that you need to put in Messenger. We want you guys to, roll with the punches, because there's so many different ways on how people could respond. And if you only went off our scripting, it would be very, very hard to have success. So read the room, right? If they aren't on a fitness journey, but they want to be on a fitness journey, you're not going to ask this exact wording, right? You're going to change it and say, well, what's inspiring you to want to start, right? So it's just a different flavor of asking the same thing. All right, once you get that answer, we're now going to move to the goals question. So we're going to acknowledge whatever they said previously, and then we're going to say, so what goals are you trying to accomplish now with your health and fitness, right? So we're now trying to figure out the goals. All right, then we're going to move on to the urgency question. So I would only add this question into your scripting if you think the lead is 50-50, meaning if you're unsure if this is really a good lead or not a good lead, and you'll develop that skill, over hundreds and hundreds of messages that you send. But if you feel like it's iffy, I would ask the question. If you feel pretty good about the lead, I wouldn't ask the question. But here's what the urgency question is. So you'd say, you've acknowledged whatever they said previously, and then you said, if you don't mind me asking, what are you trying to, when are you trying to accomplish that goal? Like, what's your timeline? The reason you want to ask this for 50-50 leads is because if they respond and say, well, I want to start 2 years from now, right? The likelihood of them wanting to book a call and becoming your client is probably pretty slim. What we do in NLCA is we do ask this question, and what we're looking for individuals who want to start within 90 days. So if they say, I want to start within the next 3 months, we feel pretty confident that we can close them. All right, so that's really important for you to look for. If you're going to ask this question, you're wanting to look for people saying that they want to start this within a 3-month time frame. All right, once we have their urgency, once we have their desire in wanting to reach this goal, we then are going to ask the challenge question. All right, so we're going to acknowledge whatever they said previously about the urgency, and then we're going to say, so what's your biggest challenge to achieving repeat goal? Or you always want to repeat the goal. You don't want to say, what's your biggest challenge to achieving your goal? If you say, hey, what's your biggest challenge to losing 30 pounds? And that was their goal, then it shows that you're actually listening. It shows that you're not just following some script, you're actually listening to what they're saying. All right, then we're going to ask the coach question. All right, so the coach question is we're going to acknowledge whatever they said previously, and then we're going to say, out of curiosity, have you ever thought about working with a coach before to, and then repeat whatever their goal is to lose the 30 pounds or whatever it is. Okay, if they say yes or no, whatever it may be, we're going to pitch them a call. So depending on their answer here, if they say yes or no, we're gonna then go into the pitch. All right, so we have two different types of pitches. We have a pitch for a 2-call close and a pitch for a 1-call close. I think we actually already talked about 2-call and 1-call close. We'll break it down a little bit more, but yeah. So if you do a 2-call close, this is what your pitch is going to say. You're going to say, awesome. Based on your goals and challenges, I 100% feel like I can offer some support to help you. Would you like to jump on a 10 to 20 minute phone or Zoom, however you're going to facilitate these calls? I really like Zoom over phone, just so you guys have a context. Sometime soon, so we could chat a bit more and see if I can. Right. So basically, now you're pitching the call. Right. If they say yes, I'll teach you how to book them here in a minute. All right, so here's the pitch for the 1-call close. It actually stays exactly the same. The only thing you're changing is the time frame of the call, right? So discovery call is going to be 10 to 20 minutes. 1-call close will be 25 to 40 minutes. All right, so you pitch them the call. All right, they say yes. All right, now we're going to actually book them for the call. So I know in the admin systems module, we showed you how to use Calendly. We showed you how to actually physically book someone for a call. What I'm going to go over is just the scripting from once they say, yes, I want to get on a call, to actually executing this on Calendly. So if you need a refresher, go back to that module, watch the Calendly video. You'll know how to actually enter someone's information in, but this will be the scripting in between that point. So when they agree to get on a call with you, what you're going to say is, and you don't have to say this word for word, but we like to say like fire up or awesome, let's go, right? Like some excitement. I'm so excited to speak with you. I'm free to chat. And then you're going to present 2 times. So you're going to check your calendar availability. And I only want you to present times that are within 12, ideally 24 hours. If it has to be 48 hours, that's fine. But what we've noticed, and we actually track this now, is if over 50% of our calls are booked within a 24-hour time frame, our show up rate is above 75%. I'm going to say that stat again because we track this. If over 50% of our calls have a 24-hour turnaround rate, our show up rate is above 75%. So getting people booked as soon as possible, ideally within a 12 to 36 hour time frame, is going to yield to the highest show up rate. All right, that's imperative. So you're going to pitch them 2 times within your next 12 to 48 hours. All right, and then you're going to ask them which time works best for you. The reason you also want to present times is because now the ball is in your court. All right, if you just say, hey, when works for you, the likelihood of them actually answering or giving you a direct answer is very slim. More times than not, if you just say, hey, what time works best for you? They're going to say, oh, I'll have to get back to you on that. And then you never hear from them again. All right, so be the leader here. Be direct. Tell them exactly the time that you can do. If they say none of those times can work, you'll say, no worries. We do have, 10 minutes or 25 to 40 minutes, whatever it is, if you're doing a 1-call close. You say, no worries. When do you have insert time frame free over the next 48 hours to chat? I'll check my schedule and see if we can make those times work. That's one way to go about it, right? So now you could be a little bit more general and you could say, hey, okay, well, what times do you have? Or another way to go about it is you could say, sweet, when are you most free tomorrow? And then insert, you could say morning, you could say midday, or you could say afternoon, right? So you would look at your calendar, you'd see when you're most free tomorrow, and then you'd say, when are you most free tomorrow morning? Okay, you can't do tomorrow morning. When are you most free tomorrow afternoon? Right? That would be another way to go about it. You're only going to do this, though, if they do not agree to your original times. One final way you could do this. Obviously, you could do the 2 ways I just described. One final way you could do this is you could pitch another set of 2 times, right? So you could say, okay, no worries. Well, I also have this time and this time. Which one works best for you? And you could just continue to pitch them times until they agree. All right, once they commit to a time, here's what you're going to say. You're going to say, awesome. If this time 100% works for you, I'll come back to that. I just need your email and phone number to officially book your spot. Okay, the reason you want to say, if this time 100% works for you, I just need your email and phone number to officially book your spot, is because by them then giving you their email and phone number, that's also them verbally saying that this time 100% works for them. Really crucial. All right, once you get their email and phone number, you're going to enter that into Calendly. You're going to get them officially booked. All right, make sure you refer to the Calendly video to see how that's done. All right, and then whether you're doing a 1-call or 2-call close, you're then going to send them this message here. So you're going to say, all booked. Can you please take 30 seconds right now and fill out this short application? It will set us up for an awesome call tomorrow at blank time. Shoot me a message when it's all done, and then you'll attach the link. All right, the link will be the pre-call notes. All right, here's a little note. I'd also invite them to your free group at this point. This will give them a place to continue to view your content in between the booking of the call and the actual call. Also, if you are doing the call on Zoom, it's a good idea to send them the Zoom link at this point too, as well as letting them know that the Zoom link will also be in the confirmation email they get from Calendly. One other pro tip I forgot to mention actually is asking them what their time zone is. Hold on, let me pause this, write this in there, and then I'll go over that. Okay, let's go ahead and break this down. So actually, after they agree to the call, so when they say yes, I agree to the call, the next thing you want to do before you present them times is you want to ask them what their time zone is. So they say, yes, I would like to get on a call. You're then going to say, awesome, what time zone are you in? And the reason you want to do this is because you're going to remove some of the work off their plate. So let's say that they're in Eastern and you're in Central. All right, now when you present them times, you're only going to speak in their time zone moving forward. Because we've had a lot of confusions where if they're in Eastern and we're in Central and we speak in Central and they don't know how to convert the time zones, we've had a lot of people miss calls because of that. All right. So we want to eliminate all possibility that this person is not going to show up for the call. So after they agree to the call, you're going to ask them what time zone they're in. All right. And then you're only going to speak in their time zone from that point on. All right. So from that point on, you'll say, awesome, I have tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. Eastern. What's best for you? All right. So that would be another step in the process I forgot to add, but it's in there now. All right. So that's the whole entire script. All right, let's go ahead and recap here. So the main thing to keep in mind is we're keeping the script relatively pretty general. All right, the goal for you, once again, is to follow the cadence, is to ask the questions, but to add your own human element to the script. The main thing, though, that you need to follow from us is just the process, the framework, all right? The questions we ask are the questions you need to ask. That's the biggest thing to remember, but how you get to the questions is up to you, and we've done that by design because we've noticed that adding the human element is what provides success. Following a word for word script is what equals little to no success. Okay. Couple of little things I want to go over, and then we'll end this very long video. All right, so 2 scenarios. So when somebody inquires about coaching, they fill out your intake form or whatever it may be, here's going to be the script. So remember when I said in the family and friend script, if they ever fill out in the application, I'll give you a script. This is that script. This is also the script for anybody that ever inquires about coaching. All right, so what you're going to do, I'm not going to read it word for word. I know this video is getting long. You'll thank them for the action they took for inquiring about coaching or whatever it may be. And then from there, you're basically just going to ask them what their goals are. You'll ask them what their challenges are. You'll ask them what they feel like they need. And then you'll pitch them for a 1-call. If you want to do 2-call close, it's fine. I would suggest doing a 1-call close since they're the one who is applying. But yeah, very simple. You'll thank them for taking the action they took. Ask them their goal, their challenge, what they need, pitch them the call. All right. Here's the script for when somebody responds to a story or is asking for advice. So if you get somebody that responds to a story or they reach out asking for advice, here's what you're going to do. You're going to say, "Hey, Nate, thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it." You'll provide some context on what they said and then determine if you want to go the when someone inquires about coaching route or the original script route. So sometimes people will respond to your story, but maybe they respond to the fact that I'm drinking a coffee, right? And maybe they say, "I'm drinking a coffee too." I'm probably not going to treat them as if they filled out an application, right? So I'm probably going to take them through the normal scripting process that we just went over. Other times you're going to have people that respond to a story that maybe say like, "Hey, I saw you did this exercise, tell me a little bit more about that." That's somebody subtly saying like, "Hey, I kind of want you to be my coach, but I'm afraid to ask. So I'm going to at least start the conversation this way." And if you interpret it that way, I would likely take them through this shorter script here and get them booked. All right. Appreciate you listening to me ramble. This is the NLCA Conversations to Call strategy in terms of the scripting. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over some conversation examples.